Hi, welcome to America Uncovered. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. You've probably heard something about Donald Trump colluding with the Russians to influence the election. Unless you've had your head buried in the sand for the past 2 years. In which case, is there any more room in that sand? There's been an ongoing investigation led by Robert Mueller from the Justice Department, and more news stories than you can shake a stick at. Like the Trump aides had contact with Russian intelligence. And Trump's advisor supposedly tried to set up a meeting with Russia. And of course that you can pretty much thank Putin for getting Trump elected. I mean, Vladimir Putin is pretty good at winning elections. He's gotten himself elected president 4 times. Anyway, some people are calling this whole thing Russiagate, because every scandal now has to have gate attached to it. Like when my roommate Carl stole my leftover pizza from the fridge, I called it Pizzagate. What's that, Shelley? Pizzagate's already taken? Fine. Fridge scandal gate. Now, you can be forgiven if after seeing all these media reports, you've come to the conclusion that there might be some kind of collusion between Trump and Russia. I did at first. I mean, could so many late-night news comedians be wrong?
Here we've got a list of things that could possibly connect Trump to Vladimir Putin.
There is no collusion! He is so bad at this.
That was so unconvincing, it probably set off an unplugged polygraph machine just sitting in a closet somewhere.
It turns out, despite a year of investigation by the Department of Justice, there is still no specific evidence against Trump. If there was, it would be front page of the New York Times. Sorry, the failing New York Times. The former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, oversaw a joint investigation into the Russia collusion, and this is what he said.
We did not include any evidence in our report that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
I understand that, but does it exist?
Not to my knowledge.
Now that may shock you. How could there be such a strong narrative that Trump colluded with Russia to win the election, and yet there be no evidence of it? Well, it has something to do with what's called the Trump Dossier. The Trump Dossier was written during the 2016 election. Officials knew about it, and a lot of media also got access to it. In January 2017, BuzzFeed published all 35 pages of it online. The Trump Dossier makes a lot of claims about Russia and Trump, and most importantly, it claims Trump colluded with Russia to win the election. In fact, during the campaign, Hillary Clinton had suggested that there may indeed be Trump-Russia collusion in a nudge-nudge, wink-wink sort of way.
First question is about the Russians, and do I think they're trying to help Trump? That's the.
Are they trying to help him?
Are they, right? I often quote a great saying that I learned from living in Arkansas a lot of years. If you find a turtle on a fence post, it didn't get there by accident.
Apparently in Arkansas, they put turtles on fence posts and I guess just leave them there. Does PETA know about this? Anyway, the Trump Dossier suggests that the Russians put Trump on the fence post or something. But it's been a year since the Trump Dossier was made public. And it turns out most of the major allegations have not been proven true. What gives? See, at first it was unclear who created the dossier. All we knew was that it was written by a former British spy who forgot to shave the back of his neck. Or maybe it's a mullet. Or maybe he's a werewolf. But Christopher Steele is definitely a former spy for MI6. Anyway, Hillary Clinton's staff had said she didn't even know about the dossier before it was published. Except that was a lie. Turns out the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, were the ones that paid for the Trump Dossier. How did that get on my credit card statement? I'm calling the bank. The Trump Dossier was not a real intelligence report. It was a piece of what's called opposition research. Every election, political opponents hire consultants to do opposition research on each other. They dig up dirt that they can use to attack their opponents. This is perfectly legal. In fact, it's the American way. The Trump Dossier, the opposition research, was written by Mr. Neckhair, Christopher Steele. Steele was paid by a company called Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS was paid by an American law firm called Perkins Coie. Perkins Coie was paid by both the Clinton campaign and the DNC. So basically, Clinton paid a law firm to pay a research firm to pay a former British spy to put a turtle on a fence post. How did it get there? At first, this chain was a mystery because when Clinton's campaign paid Perkins Coie millions of dollars, they accidentally mislabeled it in the FEC filings. Instead of calling it a payment for research, they mislabeled it as legal expenses. Also, when the DNC paid Perkins Coie millions of dollars, they also accidentally mislabeled it as legal expenses. No wonder they forgot they were the ones who paid for the dossier. All this was still technically legal. I hear they have good lawyers. Although the Campaign Legal Center has filed an official complaint about the mislabeling, saying it undermined the vital public information role of campaign disclosures. Just to be accurate here, Fusion GPS was originally hired to do the opposition research on Trump by the conservative website The Washington Free Beacon. Clinton and the DNC simply took over paying for the Trump research in April 2016, right before Trump clinched the Republican nomination. Fusion GPS didn't hire Christopher Steele until June. So how did a piece of unverified opposition research become the main force behind these accusations? Through a brilliant Machiavellian manipulation of international intelligence agencies, government bodies, the media, and us, the public. Here's where some trouble begins. For years, the Russian government has been interfering with U.S. politics, with the goal of eroding Americans' faith in the system. That's according to our friend James Clapper.
The intelligence community assessment concluded first that President Putin directed an influence campaign to erode the faith and confidence of the American people in our presidential election process.
Erode faith in the election process? Yeah, they did a pretty good job then. So maybe Christopher Steele should have been concerned that his sources were a senior figure in the Russian Foreign Ministry and a former top-level intelligence officer still active in the Kremlin. That means the allegations against Trump came from, Russian agents? The dossier was based on information fed to Steele by the same people that have been trying to undermine U.S. democracy? That doesn't sound shady. Anyway, after the Trump dossier was finished, it needed to get into the right people's hands. But Hillary Clinton couldn't just hand it to the FBI. After all, she herself was also being investigated for a separate incident involving a private email server. So, Christopher Steele talked to agents he knew at the FBI about it, possibly as early as July 2016. In December 2016, Senator John McCain, who had requested a copy of the dossier, personally handed it to FBI Director James Comey. In case you didn't pick up on this, McCain does not like Trump. So, the FBI was getting the same information from multiple sources. And if a ranking member of Congress brings up a concern that serious with the head of the FBI, well, that's pretty good grounds to open an investigation. Meanwhile, Mr. Werewolf of London gave the Trump dossier to UK intelligence. UK intelligence also intercepted communications between Trump's associates and Russians at some point during the election and passed that information along to the US. And in August 2016, an envelope with extraordinary handling restrictions arrived at the White House. Sent by courier from the CIA, it carried eyes-only instructions that its contents be shown to just 4 people: President Barack Obama and 3 senior aides. Obama now was getting information from both the FBI and the CIA that Trump may have colluded with Russians. We can't say for sure how much of that was based on the Trump dossier, but, well, the Trump dossier was created and spread in a kind of non-transparent way, so there's a possibility that Clinton-funded research sourced from Russian intelligence was used by Obama to do this. Remember how in March Donald Trump claimed Obama had wiretapped his team? And the media were like, that's completely ridiculous.
Former senior officials are saying that the idea that then candidate Trump's phones were wiretapped is just wrong. One other official said it was just nonsense.
Well, 6 months later,
CNN has learned that investigators wiretapped former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort under secret court order, both before and after the 2016 election.
That's right. There is proof that then-President Obama used these unverified claims and a secret court order to wiretap Trump's people before and after the election. That could have given the Obama officials insight into the Trump campaign and the formation of his new government post-election. Now, did Obama or his staff illegally share any of that with Hillary Clinton during the campaign? Well, even though Obama supported Clinton, we don't know for certain. So, a questionable dossier based on information linked to Russian intelligence may have been used as a pretext for Obama to secretly wiretap members of Trump's team before and after the election. But we're not done. National Security Advisor Susan Rice made public statements about alleged Russian interference in the election, which then influenced the media. It helped that the media was already being influenced through another channel. These UK court documents reveal that Fusion GPS had Christopher Steele brief reporters from the New York Times, the Washington Post, Yahoo News, the New Yorker, and CNN on the contents of the dossier. And according to these US court documents, Fusion GPS paid at least 3 journalists. So when report after report comes out about the dossier, even when the reports make clear the claims have not been verified, when Clinton kept pushing the Russia narrative,
You are willing to spout the Putin line.
And when Obama says he wants to punish Russia for election interference, well, the public might assume there's some kind of collusion between Trump and Russia. But if you step back from all the media spin, the reality is the Trump dossier was created with a purely political purpose, to defeat Trump. And it was spread in a way designed to cause damage. Therefore, the contents are inherently suspect. It's not real CIA intelligence. Did Trump collude with Russians? We still don't know because there's no evidence of that. But we do know that the Clinton campaign funded a dossier that used intelligence fed by the Russians with the intent to cause damage to Trump. And pretty soon, we may know more. A House Intelligence Committee has voted to release a memo that Republicans say contains airtight evidence that the FBI and Justice Department have conspired to undermine Trump's presidency. We barely scratched the surface on this episode. If you want a full rundown, check out this amazing infographic from the Epoch Times. Link in the description below. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go bury my head in the sand. What do you think about Clinton's plan to topple Trump? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you like how we make fake news real here on America Uncovered, consider supporting us on Patreon. The link to that is also below. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.